My name is Dan Heise. I'm the technical director for Monroe County Civic Theater, and we are talking today with Kenny Hertling. He is the director of the upcoming production Alice in Vaudeville by Christian O'Neill, and that's going to be playing July 30th and 31st. That's Friday and Saturday, 7 p.m. Tickets available at MCCT.org. And welcome, Kenny. We're really glad to have you. Tell me a little bit about the play and about how you got involved.
Yeah, so a little bit about the play. It's Alice in Vaudeville. That's the name of the play, and that's really the concept. So think Alice in Wonderland mixed with the Marx Brothers or any other vaudeville star that you could think of. Think about some of the favorite old vaudeville jokes that still reign true today and how those deliveries go. But then add in the characters, Alice from Alice in Wonderland, the Red Queen, the March Hare. What does it look like for those characters to embody a comedic troupe? And I got involved because the author, Christian O'Neill, is a good friend of mine, and I've seen him developing this play. And when an opportunity came up for me to be able to direct a play, and particularly an audio play, which I've had experience for in the past, I asked Christian if I would be able to use this piece, and yeah, here we are.
Wonderful. So this is an audio play, and it's going to be calling on the audience's imagination to where we normally have costumes and sets and blocking. We're going to be relying on the imagination of the audience. Do you have any tricks that you use to help trigger the imagination and feed that process?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I really love about audio theater and audio drama is that it is everyone that has a part to the play, from the actor voicing the character, the director, the sound engineer, and the audience member. Everyone has to use a bit of their imagination, and everyone gets their own little twist on what they're actually hearing and seeing and what the world is. And that's a part. So one of the tricks I would suggest is let your imagination run wild. Think about the different incarnations of Alice in Wonderland that you've seen over the years. Think about the vaudeville acts that are still reign true today or still shown. And YouTube's a wonderful place, right? In terms of directing this piece, in terms of tricks, what we really think about and use are particular words and what is the character's intentions behind those words. So a lot of it is the acting portion. I mean, that's really all you get. You get everything you have to do visually with your voice. So I've been speaking a lot to the actors about, so what vocalizations would you use? What physicality would you use there? Can you use it where you are? Are you standing? Are you sitting? What can you do to make your body look like it would be if you were on stage performing this, and let that show through your voice? Because that's what the audience is going to see, and that's what you all are going to get. And from there, it's just the imagination of everyone. So no matter what the delivery is, it's going to take everyone to pull their part in it and have some fun.
All right. Well, in addition to the increased vocal dynamics of the actors, are we going to be relying on sound effects or music at all to create a scene or set a mood?
Yes. So particularly with this, we came along this concept of in fact, like an audio drama. So there are Foley effects. There are going to be effects that are performed live throughout. Well, it is a recorded production that is going up on the 30th and 31st, but they are performed live when it is recording for the actual actors. So going through that aspect. So there are going to be Foley effects, and there is going to be underscoring throughout a number of the show. We've been able to work with Nick Newby and give him some concepts of vaudeville, the time. The play is set in 1925, and what it looks like to have those sounds and be underscored by a piano, as well as actual effects that one of the actors is producing throughout the show.
So in the show, like you said, it's centered around vaudeville. How have you been exposed to vaudeville?
Yeah, so my exposure to vaudeville is actually Christian. whether that has been his main influence for the play. But he was a roommate of mine some number of years ago, and we would often have vaudeville sketches on, and we would comment on them, we would laugh about them, going through those aspects. And then vaudeville has always been a piece of Christian's comedy, whether that has been with plays we did on campus when we were in college together, and I would be able to work as his lighting designer at the time. So I'd be able to see kind of those through fruition, and it was always a bit of a bonding experience and kind of growing within that aspect. And I always enjoy a good Marx Brothers skit or anything, you know, that Mo Howard gets hit on the top of the head.
And and this play also, it sort of picks up, if you will, in a world that where Alice in Wonderland, that world exists, and now those characters have sort of moved beyond that story into their own story, their own future. Tell me a little bit about that. What will we find familiar about the characters and their situation, and what would we find surprising and new?
Yeah. So when you think about Alice in Wonderland and how that might relate to this particular aspect, it's really those character dynamics. So when you think about the March Hare, what comes to mind? When you think about the Mad Hatter, well, what is that maniacal aspect, that just bit of zany that comes through? So those personalities are where it comes through into the world of a 1925 vaudeville troupe, and what that means to go through that. So what you'll find familiar are the characterizations. What you find familiar is their relationships to each other, and what that means to be in that world. What you'll find new is the fact that they're actually being brought into a vaudeville troupe in 1925. What does that mean historically? What does that mean creatively? And what does that mean for their dynamics? Because they are a troupe. They're not just in Wonderland together. They're all together, and they're working together to help this troupe survive.
Were there any actors in the production who really weren't familiar with vaudeville, and what was that process of discovery like for them, or even maybe weren't familiar with Alice in Wonderland?
Yeah, so that's actually not something that I asked them. If they didn't know what vaudeville was or Alice in Wonderland prior, they sure as heck acted as if they did. But kind of talking them through things, we did provide examples of what some of the characters were in terms of relation to vaudeville. In terms of the characters in relation to Alice in Wonderland, it actually makes perfect sense in that their names are actively very similar to what they would be, with one of them being a bit of a stretch, but I'll let the audience figure that out for themselves. It is hinted at during the show, but for the most part, when you look at Hatter, oh, yeah, that's the Mad Hatter. Going through that aspect, and then in the character description, it's in the light of Mo Howard and those kind of aspects to pull the character dynamics of what does it mean for this character to be related to, you know, Dodo and the rat, while also being potentially a symbolization of the Marx Brothers.
Interesting. That's great. So one question, this not only is it an audio play, but we're doing this in the time of COVID. So I'm guessing that you probably didn't have a chance to get the cast all together in one place to work together. What were some of the challenges that you ran into, you know, coordinating a disparate cast for an audio play, and how did you overcome those?
Well, the challenges really are rehearsal time. It's also, you know, middle of July. There's a lot of stuff going on. People are going on vacations. And what we did to overcome that was really look at the script, look at where people were and what their availability was. That was one of the key factors in casting. We were actually, and we just finished up rehearsals on Thursday night. We've had 8 rehearsals. That's it. That's all we got. That's all we're going to get. We record this coming Monday on, what is it, the 19th and the 20th. And then I spend a couple days editing to see what comes of it, and potentially some re-records if anything goes through that. But we had 8 rehearsals. The cast has been a blast. I've been sending out, you know, nightly rehearsal reports and looking at it that way. So yeah, that was the challenge. It was the time, particularly as I personally don't like having anyone on Zoom for more than 2 hours. So I did set a pretty straightforward, hey, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., maybe 6:30 to 8:30 if that's your call time, but no individual person's going to be there for more than 2 hours because good grief. And that's something I got from Steve Heise actually with previous productions. It's no one really wants to be on Zoom for more than 2 hours if we don't have to be. So.
And Kenny, I've known you because we've shared a stage together several times with MCCT, but we only actually met in, I think, maybe our third production together, right? So we did 2 virtual productions, and then we were on stage together at Switchyard Park. But I had no idea that you did lighting design and directing. What is there anything that you haven't done in the theater? And what tell me a little bit about what got you into the theater and what roles you've played and which as opposed to actor, director, producer, as opposed to which particular roles, and what have you enjoyed doing the most?
Yeah, so the easy answer to enjoy doing the most is I'm a storyteller. A storyteller and an educator at heart. So if there's anything that I can do to help tell a story and help move a story along, I'm more than happy to jump along. One thing I'm really not versed in is anything with costuming. Throughout my undergraduate career, I took a lot of design courses. Costuming was one of them. Costuming technology was one of them. Not my forte. I really wish it was. It comes a lot in handy, but not so much. Beyond that, I have done a good number of lighting design. I've worked with sound. I would not say that I'm a sound designer. And then in terms of directing, I've actually, with the exception of the directing class I took in college, I've only directed audio plays. Actually, and this is clearly my most recent one, and I did one just a couple weeks ago for the National Audio Theater Festival that's currently up on their website. But that's a bit about me. I started with acting, and that kind of leads into the storytelling aspect. That is my main passion. That is what got me here. And then it's really the people. Every theater I've been a part of, there's been some person that I've been able to talk to that's really hooked me in and gotten me back. And then I've been able to meet more people and go through that. But people, storytelling, acting, and just, the one time we were on stage, we were just goofballs, right? That's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Tell me, how did you get involved with MCCT? I know for me, I've been lifelong friends with the past president, and I got called in because they lost an actor and needed someone to learn a pretty big part in a short period of time. And I got in hook, line, and sinker. What's your story? What's your MO?
About a week before the pandemic, MCCT was having auditions for All's Well That Ends Well, or at least announcing that they were doing auditions. I sent in an email saying, hey, I would love to audition. Pandemic happened. About 2 weeks later, I got an email saying, hey, we're still doing the show. It's virtual. Would you be interested in this part? And I haven't stopped in the last roughly year and a half now.
Great. What's your experience with MCCT been like? How does it compare to other theatrical productions and troupes that you've been a part of?
Oh gosh, that is a tough question, particularly in terms of I've done most shows with COVID, and then there was the show that you and I worked on, the scene, really, right? It was a scene.
Right, it's really a scene.
Right, particularly for Solstice Festival. That sound right?
Yeah, it was the Switchyard Park Solstice Festival.
There we go.
And what we did was we did the scene from Midsummer Night's Dream, where the Rude Mechanicals, the people who are normally building the sets, put on a show for the Duke and do a really awful job of acting and costumes. And so it's a lot of fun because you get to break all the rules and do all the things you're not supposed to do and have fun with it. And it was great. It was the first time that we'd done live theater in Bloomington, live Shakespeare, in almost 2 years. So
yeah, live in person. And that's really the only thing that I've worked with you all outside of COVID. Now, in terms of the year that we were doing virtual productions in some way, what I found to be very interesting is how adaptable and malleable you all have been willing to be. I know several companies that haven't really found their niche in an online world, or they'll record a show and they'll put it up and it ends up being more of a movie than a production, those kind of aspects. But what I've seen from you all is that you are really trying to stick true to a number of aspects. One, being a community theater. Two, you want everyone there to have fun. And three, you want that live aspect to the best extent that you can. You want that performer integration. You want that audience participation. And that's why we've done, for shows that we haven't done strictly live, watch parties, to where audience members can still interact with each other and clap and go through those aspects while moving through what has been a difficult year and a half.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're not acting, directing, writing plays, doing lighting design, what does Kenny Hertling do? What does your life look like off stage?
Gosh. Yeah, so I currently work at Indiana University Bloomington as a conduct coordinator. So a lot of my daily life is working with students who have acted in such a way that doesn't embody the values of the institution, and talking to them about why there are certain policies that exist and for what reasons, and helping them figure out some learning goals and some opportunities for growth so that we can really get them more so into a mindset and embodying what the university stands for, and really helping support them through the last year and a half, which has been very difficult, but also just the understanding, what does it mean to be an adult, to be potentially on your own for the first time, to be navigating college life, and what resources are available to them.
How do you see your work and experiences in the theater sort of helping and informing you in life, and vice versa? How does real life bleed over to the theater and theater bleed over into the real life for you?
Yeah, so particularly in the last 2 years, so I've been in Bloomington for just over 2 years now, and just before I moved to Bloomington, I started working with intimacy directors and coordinators. Intimacy Directors International at the time, they went through a bit of a name switch in the last year. But a lot of that was about how we communicate with people, and that's really what theater is. It's communication, it's connection, it's working with people, it's that collective breath when you're in an audience and you're seeing something so emotional in front of you that everyone breathes at the same time and everyone feels it, but no one really knows it, right? Like we all collectively now, particularly when we talk about it, we know it exists, but no one actually knows that it's happening unless you think about it. But it does, and we know that it does. And it's that collective breath, that connection, that melding of minds, and really just paying attention to what's right in front of you and focusing on things. And that's kind of what theater has taught me, is just to really live in the moment. Acting is mostly reacting, like you know your part and you move forward, but if someone does something different, you can't do the exact same thing. You've got to figure out what you're going to do to respond. It's that response, it's that communication, it's that connection. It's that moving forward and growing with other people that I've really enjoyed about theater in general.
Great. Do you have any advice for anyone who's interested in getting involved in the theater, but maybe they're not sure how, or maybe they're not feeling super confident about their ability to win a part in an audition, etc.?
Yeah. So do it. Go talk to folks, particularly for a community theater. We'll use stakes like we would in a production. The stakes are relatively low in terms of a community theater aspect, because there's, particularly with this, no one's getting paid at the end of it, right? Everyone's there to have fun, there because they love what they're doing. Yes, the stake is that you may want a particular role, and what does it take to do that? That may be reaching out to one of the board members. That may be reaching out to me as the director if it was for this particular show. And what does it look like to just talk to people and get to know people, and then just keep showing up? And particularly in this area, in Bloomington, there are a number of ways where you can get involved. There's BAFT, the Bloomington Arts, Film, and Theater. There's Cardinal Stage that does classes. And Monroe County Civic Theater has been trying to figure out if there's a way where we can also provide some of those aspects. And what does it look like to go through those and work with that way? And there's I believe there's also Stages Bloomington for younger actors as well. So there's a lot of wealth of theater and of the arts in this community where we can really get involved and work with. And we all want to build up the arts in the community. So if you're interested, let someone know. We'll make sure you get what you need.
You bet. And I can tell you that, send an email to info@mcc.org with any information about you or any questions you have. I've been amazed at the diversity of people, especially that we get up on stage. These are people I would never have imagined that I'd get a chance to work with on stage. And sometimes it can be kind of hair raising, right? But it's always amazing. It always comes out unexpected. I've never done a show with MCCT where I felt like the audience didn't get, wasn't absolutely well served and wasn't absolutely, served up and entertained an evening of fantastic entertainment. Well, thank you, Kenny. And again, Kenny Hertling directing Alice in Vaudeville, written by Christian O'Neill, and that's going to be coming up on July 30th and 31st, Friday and Saturday. Tickets at mcct.org, and by all means, reach out to us if you have any interest whatsoever in getting involved. Thank you so much, Kenny. I appreciate this. This has been wonderful.
Gladly. Thanks for having me, Dan. Hope to see you at the show, folks.